Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your boy JD6 here. I'm with my man. Shout out to KC Sports Authority. Make sure y'all go check that podcast out, man.
You heard the man. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the KC Sports Authority podcast. I am your host, Keegan Russell, and we got a full crew tonight to talk a little bit about the NBA draft with two former Jayhawks now finding their place in the league. But before we do that, just a quick reminder, you can find the podcast over here on YouTube where you can watch and subscribe. Shout out to the nearly 700 subscribers we have so far. Thank you so much for all of your support and continued support. If you're new to the show, check us out. Hit that like and subscribe button. Join us on this adventure as we continue to grow our podcast between KU, Chiefs, Royals, and all sorts of other content. You can also check us out over on Spotify if you'd like to listen on the go, where you can follow the podcast and rate and give us a 5-star review. You can also hit us up on any of our social media at KCSA Pod, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. All right, fellas. Well, let's get into it. The NBA draft has come and gone. And before we get into the KU stuff specifically, I felt like this was the most boring, underwhelming, disappointing NBA draft of my lifetime that I've watched. Does anybody else feel the same?
Round one, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, round one
from
the broadcasts were terrible. The people on the broadcast teams were awful. The players just not exciting. You know, half the guys, even though I did my own research, half the guys I was not familiar with. Just very underwhelming.
It was so like, who's going to be the number one pick? Like, I can't even tell you the guy's name now. Is that bad? That's probably bad. Like, here's the deal. This year, when there's no guarantee of who's going to be the number one pick, it should be kind of exciting. And it was more like, okay, let's keep it going. At least as KU fans, we were like, okay, where's Johnny Furphy going to land? Where's Johnny Furphy going to land? And we watched 3+ hours of round one and didn't see Johnny Furphy in night one. And that was so infuriating. I think my Twitter feed is well documented on my emotional distress throughout the night. It was at a peak, and then it was dipping down and never got back up. So it was a frustrating 3+ hours, and all for round one. I mean, it's like, can't we just move this along? I mean, we know that these picks are in, but it just takes time. You got to get the broadcast to be a full 3 hours, and there's ad revenue, and there's all these things that push it out and drag it out. And it's like, man, as someone who sells advertising space for my 9 to 5, I get it, but also I as a user of, like, an end user of the product, I really just want it to move along. And it was very, very difficult to get through that first night. Very difficult knowing that, I mean, Furphy was projected by a lot of people to be, I mean, lottery potentially, mid to late first round. We saw tons of mocks, and it made no sense why he fell so much. So it was disappointing. Tough night, man.
Yep, we'll get into it here. I thought the format, honestly, I didn't mind the format first round one night, because previous years I'm up till 1 o'clock watching the draft. Even though I don't care about the second round after KU guys were gone, I still find myself watching every pick. But this was the first year I watched it from my phone so that I wouldn't have to see anything on Twitter from Shams and Woj. I did hear from a lot of other people, though, that if you tune into Shams' broadcast that they did on Twitter, that it was far more entertaining than what the crap ESPN put out between their two broadcasts. They had one good person on each broadcast and didn't put them together. It was a laughingstock watching Stephen A. Smith know absolutely nothing about any prospect. Didn't even know who his own team drafted in the first round. He was a disappointment. And then we flipped to the other side. I thought Monica McNutt was one of the worst interviewers I've ever seen on draft night, and I get why she's there. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but it was a terrible production on all sides. It was nonstop Richard Jefferson making sure you remembered who he was. It's kind of sad that JJ Redick became the coach of the Lakers, because I guarantee he would have been on this, and I think him and Jay Billis would have been way better together. Andrea Carter was great, but there was just nobody giving any great analysis. But yeah, first round pick.
Where was Jay
pick.
Billis?
Billis was there. He was on the
He was
ESPN
there.
broadcast. He didn't do a ton.
I mean, I'm just so used to listening
These
to
are
him
NBA
nonstop.
crews. They use NBA crews to do draft talk now, and those guys don't watch any tape. I mean, you got to get guys that watch college basketball. As much as we don't like Fran Fraschilla as KU fans and how annoying he is, he knows the players really well. He scouts the players well. He does camps. He speaks to teams all the time. Get these college guys back in there and let them do the broadcast. You can still have your NBA people as the host, but you got to have people that actually watch the content. But number one pick, however you say his name, doesn't matter. I don't think he's going to do anything. It's funny that former Jayhawk Frank Mason's like, he's the number one pick. I played him overseas. He sucked this last year. He didn't do anything to it. So very underwhelming NBA draft. Next year should be a lot of fun. But let's get into the two Jayhawks, of course, Johnny Furphy and Kevin McCullar. Furphy unfortunately slides all the way out of the first round, like you mentioned, very surprisingly. Ends up as the number 35 pick in the second round. Ends up in the Indiana Pacers after a trade. But yeah, Johnny Furphy, let's start there with you guys. Thoughts on his slide? What do you think led to it? How surprised were you?
Dude, Spencer, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think his spot was a little precarious because in that 15 to 20 spots, you typically have teams that are either fringe playoff teams or, teams that did make the playoffs and didn't make it very far. And a lot of times they're going to want established players. They're going to want players that have relatively high floors. So, okay, worst case scenario, we get this guy. And instead, Furphy is a little bit raw, and Furphy is a guy that may be a little bit of a project. He's got to fill out his frame. He's got to work on his, handles. He's got to work on his shot a little bit, his consistency, and he's very young. So in that range, I can understand why he would drop. I'm very shocked that he dropped all the way to the second round, and I'm shocked that later round teams didn't at least take a chance on a guy that has such a high ceiling. But yeah, so that's what I think happened. I just think he's not a very well polished prospect compared to some of those other guys. But I am glad that he ended up in Indiana. I think that's a good team for him to be on.
And I kind of thought like maybe it was the scouts paying a little bit too much attention to his poor finish to the season and not looking enough at how well he did for a solid stretch of games where he was looking like a lottery pick, and that's why he was projected by not by a lot, but by some, that he would go in the lottery, and it was valid, especially in a draft class that was so weak compared to years past. I mean, him falling to the second round was kind of a gut punch for KU fans, and really it makes you think, well, should he have come back? And I think a lot of people on Twitter were like, he should have come back. He should have come back. I think I said that. I mean, I might have retweeted something too. Like, it feels like he should have come back when he is just falling this much. Yeah, I agree with you, Spencer. I think some of those teams should have taken a shot on the kid. I mean, he's got so much potential. He's young, he's long, he's tall. I mean, he's everything that you could want in a prospect. Keyword prospect, someone that you can develop, someone that you can mold into the exact type of player that you need. I mean, Furphy, he had all the tools necessary. I would have taken a shot early. I'm not. I might be biased, but I'm not biased.
Yeah. Derek, what do you think led to his slip out of the first round?
I think it was a combination of things. The trades that happened at the bottom of the first round, I think contributed to it. I think teams, kind of going off JB, maybe they put a lot of emphasis on what happened later in the season instead of that stretch, when he went into the starting lineup. I was surprised Orlando took De Silva. I kind of understand it. They're in the playoffs. They pushed Cleveland to 7 games. They're on the upward trajectory, but they needed shooting. I know De Silva shot 40%, and he's 6'7" wing. But I mean, if you want potential, I mean, Furphy would have been a great pick. I'm surprised the Bucks went with a guy, frankly, I'd never heard of, to be honest.
Same.
I mean, Furphy would have been perfect for the Bucks. Obviously, shooter, spot up shooter, occasional, cutter and transition guy. He would have been perfect with Dame and Giannis. So, yeah, I think that was a combination of things, but the trades, and I think just teams maybe not having enough tape on him. He did reclassify, if I'm not mistaken, right, for a fee.
Mm-hmm.
So he's, like Spencer said, he's pretty raw. But yeah, it was just brutal.
Yeah,
Just summarize it as brutal.
I didn't think he was going to get past the Bucks at 23 personally. As I was texting with these two earlier in the day, I was like, all right, here's my range. I think I had him as high as 13 maybe to the Kings and then to 23. But draft night itself, I was disappointed he slid so far. But after I had some time to recollect, go back and look at the first round, I think, Derek, you kind of said there were so many trades at the end of the first round that the teams that lined up, 17 through 30, just were teams that were more in win now mode that need someone who can come in and be more of a role player today. Not that Furphy can't, but Furphy compared to some of the other guys similar to him, like a Jalen Tyson to the Cavs at 20. Jalen Tyson, scorer, shooter, wing, athletic defender, but better defender than Furphy. Cavs win now mode. Pelicans could always use more shooting, but they wouldn't get a big guy and use Misi. The Suns, I thought another good spot, but they ended up making a trade with the Nuggets. The Bucks is the one that baffles me. AJ Johnson, never heard of him. That made the sense as a no-brainer for there. The Knicks also basically drafting two nobodies. Well, Keyshawn George isn't bad, but they traded him to the Wizards. Then you get the Wizards there at the bottom. That was another spot that I thought could have been, but they ended up making that pick traded. So there was just so much movement. And then I think the other thing that happened in the first round is there were a lot of guys that slipped that should have been lottery picks that I also think factored in. And then you had a guy like Zach Edey jump 10 spots into the top 10 that probably threw things off. But
Shocking.
Yeah, Devin Carter slipping to 13 to the Kings. That could have been a spot that they maybe look at somebody else that could have impacted Furphy's draft stock. And then Khalil Ware going to the Heat. I think the 76ers was the next spot I was looking at, but they get a more combo guard with Jared McCain. Makes a lot of sense. Dalton Connect slides all the way down to 17. Lakers win now mode. That makes more sense for them. De Silva, again, more of a defender than what Furphy is. And of Jacoby Walter sliding all the way down to 19. I remember JB was like, please don't go to the Raptors. Please don't go to the Raptors. Can't compete with Grady and Ochai. That's just too many of the same position. But yeah, Furphy ends up sliding all the way out of the first round. Very, very disappointing night for him from that standpoint. Gets invited to the green room with the expectation of he's getting drafted first round. Bill Self sitting there with him. They wait the whole night. Nothing happens. Goes home. We thought, obviously, going into day two that he'd be one of the first few picks off the board. And, of course, he was drafted by the Spurs and then traded to the Pacers. And even though that trade is not technically official, he is an Indiana Pacer, and he has chosen his number 12. So he joins the Indiana Pacers, who also drafted not back-to-back because he was on the first team, but a NCAA champion, Tristan Newton, which I also love the pick for Indianapolis, but don't like it for Furphy because it's just another wing. But let's talk about this fit with the Pacers. Let me pull up their roster here. The Pacers were a team up and coming this year. I think went far deeper into the playoffs than most anybody expected, considering how many injuries they were suffering along the way. But they also got some bright spots along the way to get there with injuries on other teams. But Furphy now becomes a developmental piece with a young up-and-coming Pacers team. I'll be curious to see what kind of position he plays there. I think he's going to be slotted more as the 3. But he's got a lot of competition there. Obviously, Benedict Mathurin coming off of injury is their big wing piece. Andrew Nimhart on the wing. More of a 2 guard. Aaron Naismith on the wing. Ben Shepherd, last year's first-round draft pick, looked really good. And then Obi Toppin re-signs. So he's got a lot of guys there around him, and of course Tristan Newton and then Kendall Brown that they picked up last year. But what do you guys think of the fit with Indianapolis, and what's the likelihood that year one Furphy makes an impact?
Oof, I'm not looking at a year one impact. I don't know. I don't mean to be a downer, but yeah, like you said, he's got some competition at his position. So for me, it just makes me a little scared. That combined with how raw he still is and how much of a project that he is still going to be, kind of makes me a little worried. I don't know, Spencer. What do you think?
I think it depends how much his defense develops. I mean, if you look at the Pacers, their whole thing was we're going to score 135, we're going to give up 125. That was their whole game plan. So I think if he develops as a defender, that's going to set him apart because you have wings on there that are already in that NBA development system with their jump shots. So Furphy shooting, I think, is going to develop just fine. I think he's got a good looking shot. He's got mechanically it's very sound. But it just depends on how much he can reach for that defensive potential. Because if he can slide in there as a guy that, okay, hey, not only can I shoot upwards of 35% from the field, but you can stick me on, one of their more talented wings, and I can be that guy, especially come playoffs, that I can at least give you, 15 to 20, 25 minutes of solid defense. I think that's how he carves out a role. Because really the NBA is hungry for those prototypical 3-and-D guys. So that's what they're wanting. If you are not a prolific scorer or a rim protector or a freak, athlete, freak of nature, prospect like Wembanyama, you get playing time by being a good defender and a good shooter. That's how these wings are carving out time. So I think that's how he's going to make an impact. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be first year, but I think.
Yeah. And just look at what the Celtics and the Knicks are doing right now, and how that's the recipe for most teams. You got to have 3 to 5. 6'5" to 6'8", 6'10" wing guys that can shoot lights out from the corner three, top of the key, and can defend 1 through 4. And Furphy, obviously, we know he struggled defensively early on. Change of pace, different game, more talented guys around him. I think that'll be the case in the NBA, of course. He's probably going to spend most of the entire season, if not the whole season, in the G League, considering the competition, which is probably good for him because he'll be able to kind of work on his game and develop there more because he's not going to get much playing time, really. I do like the fit, though, and the reason I do is because he's still on the roster currently, but they still have Doug McDermott, and I think that would be a good guy to kind of figure out how can you mold yourself like him. McDermott's got a little bit more size physically. They're similar heights, but he's got more on his frame. But McDermott's carved out a nice little role here of a 10th, 11th, 12th man the last couple of years into the bench, but can knock down jumpers and come in and play well. So I think that's a good fit for him to kind of learn and develop around. But this Pacers team is young, so I think the young aspect of it will put together a ton of competition. I think I was looking at their roster. I haven't done the math yet, but their average age is like 24 or something. So they're all really young. They've only got 2 or 3 guys above 30 right now, depending on how things shake out with off season. So a very young team that he gets to slide in and kind of help compete for right away to be on a playoff team. But yeah, any other thoughts you guys have on as far as his fit with the Pacers, what his career might look like over the next couple of years?
I actually really like the fit. And I think another main reason is their style of play. Indiana runs up and down the floor. They're a huge transition team. They're most effective, especially against Boston, when they didn't have to go against the set defense. And so when he can he's a capable rebounder and he can bring the ball up, or he can be that outlet 3 guy. And so with Mathurin coming back, with McDermott still there, with Shepherd in the second year, he's probably not going to get enough playing time, but I really like the fit personally. And we'll see where it goes. He might, down the line, if he sticks, I think he could definitely be a contributor.
Yeah, I think we also need to look at how scouting teams are assessing prospects based on just purely situational. Like I saw, if Johnny Furphy played in the EuroLeague, he would have went top 10. So, I mean, you look at stuff like Dalton Connect, everyone would say, oh, he's 23, he's this, he's that. He played overseas. If he played in a professional EuroLeague, he would have went top 10. So, you're seeing that a lot now with how draft prospects are looked at. So I think, you look at a guy like Furphy, who may be a little bit of a project, so to speak, his first couple of years. I think it kind of also hurt his stock that he was playing in college and not in a professional league already. So that's another reason I think that he kind of dropped a little bit. And I think that's a really big thing that teams need to keep in mind when they're drafting players now.
Yeah, and this was the draft of the international players, so maybe Furphy was better off not coming to Kansas this last year and just going that route, because the number 1 draft pick didn't even average 11 points.
Oh my gosh.
And this was his first year as a starter for his European
Weird.
team. Came out the bench last year. So, yeah, it was a wild draft from that perspective, just because there were so many international players going. And, of course, the international game has picked up quite a bit the last couple of years. We've seen France kick out a ton of guys that are lottery picks the last 3 or 4 years now. Cameroon, the NBA Africa League, they're developing a lot of guys out there. So you've got a strong international presence, tons of guys drafted. But I like the fit. Former Jayhawk Kevin Pritchard out there, part of their front office. Obviously, very familiar with Furphy and ties to Kansas. So cool to link up with the Jayhawk there, and hopefully Furphy gets some good runtime this year, especially in the G League, because it'd be nice to see him on the run and gun, fast paced team. I think he could definitely thrive there as a cutter. Let's move over to Kevin McCullar now. So Kevin McCullar, drafted at the end of the second round, also slid. Poor guy. If he didn't get injured, he might have been a first round pick or top 40 pick at least.
Yep.
But 10 weeks ago, he was a projected top 35 pick. Injury happens, slides, doesn't get to do much at the combine with his knee injury. But a guy that still was getting on mocks as high as 29, 30. Boston at the end of the first round was a team that thought would make a lot of sense there, being a versatile wing defender. But he slides all the way down to the third to last pick of the draft, number 56. Gets drafted by Phoenix, but is traded to the Knicks as part of the 400 trades that happened. The Knicks, wild offseason for them, going and getting Mikal Bridges and becoming the New York Wildcats, or the Villanova Knicks, as they're going to be known for.
I hate the Villanova Knicks.
They also re-signed OG Anunoby to a fat contract. I don't know how on earth they're going to play all these guys. That's for another episode, how they have 8 starters now and don't know how they're going to play who's coming off the bench. But they do pick up Kevin McCullar. The Knicks also drafted Tyler Kolek in the second round, Marquette guard. Really, as much as I don't care about the Knicks that much, they're fun to play with on 2K, I'll say that. But I do think McCullar is going to be a fantastic fit with them. Don't know what kind of playing time he'll get year one. But again, the East is all about loading up on switchable defenders at the wing position that can go out and guard the likes of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, specifically those 2 guys, compete with Tyrese Halliburton. Orlando's got a lot of good scoring wings. You need strong, capable wing defenders that can switch 1 through 4. Obviously, we know Kevin McCullar, that is his prowess as a defensive on-ball threat. Showcased a little bit more playmaking ability this year at Kansas. The shot improved some, not a ton. Capable of scoring, but what do you guys think of this fit with the Knicks?
I don't love it. I mean, it's not the worst. It's not the worst place he could have landed. I'm mainly a little biased here because I just hate the Villanova Knicks, man. I'm still salty about 2018.
that Final Four.
You got that whole team on the Villanova Knicks now. It's like, dude, I can't even Villanova Knicks just rolls off my tongue so easily now that I'm like, oh, I got New York Knicks. Sorry, it's like, oh yeah, the Villanova Knicks. I hate them so much. So I was like, I remember in our group chat, I'm like, please not the Villanova Knicks for Furphy, because I was scared he was going to get taken, and then thank goodness he did not get taken to New York, but. Then, of course, Kevin lands there. I thought Kevin would have been better on the Spurs, personally.
Also would have been a great fit there.
Yeah,
but they've got like 8 guys ahead of him at the same position.
Yeah, I mean, the injury cost him, and I just all I can hope for is that he bounces back and has a good career as a primary, just role play type of guy. I mean, he's got so much talent. He's got so much defensive ability. He is locked in, and I mean, he was locked in before he got into a Kansas jersey, and then he had 2 years with Bill Self, who preaches defense. Unfortunately, we didn't really execute defensively as much as I would have liked the last couple of years, but Kevin was not the problem, at least from a defensive standpoint. So he's bringing a lot of tools to this New York team. I'm excited for him. I just kind of wish it was somewhere else.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, I understand the bitterness towards Villanova, and I
I'm still so salty.
But what I will say is that I am glad that he's on a big market team. I'm glad that he has an opportunity to potentially get some national spotlight. I think he's a very good NBA prospect. Obviously, the injury. I think not only the injury, but the speculation about said injury is probably what's caused him to drop a little bit. But I think New York's a really good fit. They are kind of collecting these big athletic 3-and-D guys. You look at OG, you look at McHale. So I think he's definitely a good fit for the team. I mean, he's a guy that I think has a really big potential to make an impact on an NBA roster. I mean, we just saw Contavious Caldwell-Pope get a very fat bag from Magic. That's the kind of guy that I think he can be. I think his floor is like a Dorian Finney-Smith kind of guy. Like, he's not going to get a lot of plays called for him. He's not going to be a guy that orchestrates a lot of offense. But despite that, I do think he's got the capabilities to do it. I mean, a lot of times he was the guy bringing up the ball and being a primary ball handler for us. So I think he's got that capability. So if he actually gets playing time, I think the Knicks are going to be, very surprised with the kind of player that they got. My only concern with him is if he makes the roster and he's not just a G League guy or whatever. I think playing time is going to be a little tricky because, again, New York Knicks are collecting these guys right now.
I can tell you, Tom Thibodeau, Tibbs is going to love McCullar. He is all about defensive intensity. The Knicks this last year, they got better throughout the year, but you could tell a lot of the defensive side of the ball just wasn't going for him. I mean, Julius Randle doesn't play defense. Mitchell Robinson was out half the year. Brunson's a little undersized, has tenacity, but was so heavily focused offensively that he didn't do a ton. So until they got OG Anunoby at the trade deadline, they didn't really have a lot of defensive prowess on this team, and we know that's how Tibbs likes to play. He's always been a defensive first kind of team, so I think he's going to love having Kevin out there. I don't know what his minutes are going to look like year one. Again, he's probably going to be that 12th, 13th guy on the bench, depending on what other moves the Knicks make, but he's going to be a guy that I think Tibbs is going to have his eye on because he might actually get some more spot minutes throughout the season to see how he can handle playing against teams' top wings. My concerns with him, the shot, of course. He's not going to be creating much offense for himself. He's not going to be doing dribble drives. He's not going to be attacking the paint as much. He's going to have to become more of a spot-up shooter. So does his 3-ball get any better? And then my second thing is the knee. If the knee is healthy, he should be fine. But how is that knee injury going to impact his ability to defend at the high level he's been? Is he going to be able to move his feet quick enough, turn, push off, and fight through some of the more physicalness that he'll get in the NBA? But I think good spot for him. He was one that I had about 15 to 18, 20 teams that he'd probably be a good spot on defensively. I thought going to Philadelphia would have been another good spot for him, second round. But yeah, because he's such an elite defender, if that translates, then I think he's going to be a guy that figures out how to get, spot minutes here and there and can kind of work his way up. Not necessarily the offensive game that Christian Braun had, and maybe not the impact that Christian Braun had with the Nuggets, but he's capable of going out there and guarding a team's best wing perimeter player. It's just now he's going up against the best. I think right now in the NBA, without going back to the last couple of decades, as far as a wing presence right now, the NBA has some pretty dang good wings across the league that he's going to match up against. And it's going to be tough night in and night out. But other thoughts on Kevin McCullar? Derek, you got anything on him?
Yeah, if Coach Tom Thibodeau could mold a defensive guy, it would be in the mold of Kevin McCullar. He fits everything that Tom Thibodeau wants. And yeah, I think he doesn't have to play Josh Hart 48 minutes anymore.
Yeah.
And I actually like both picks. Kolek is obviously very capable ball handler. So, he could take a little pressure off of Jalen Brunson. And frankly, if Thibodeau doesn't overplays his starters like he's done his entire career, I think Kevin does have a path to playing time because with OG, Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, I don't think they're going to keep Mitchell Robinson. And obviously the reason why they made those trades is to, be flexible in their cap, I believe. That's why they've drafted that French guy. He's a draft and stash. So they had to save money in order to sign OG. So, if Thibodeau plays 8-9 guys, I think McCullar has a shot at playing time his first year. Obviously, we have to see how the knee, reacts to obviously NBA action. But if he improves his shot, If he, if his ice, yeah, like you said, laterally, if he can do that, if that lateral movement is still there, I think he'll find some playing time. Because Thibodeau needs it.
Yeah. The other thing I was just thinking about too, looking at their roster, obviously not the same player, but don't you think that Tibbs could kind of use him in the way he uses Josh Hart right now? A little bit undersized for a 4-man, but capable of defending, plays physical. We know Kevin McCullar has been a good rebounder. He's been KU's best rebounder this last year, I thought. I mean, Hunter gets boards because he's tall, but McCullar would go and get rebounds. So I think he kind of plays scrappy like Josh Hart does. He's a little bit taller than Hart, and Hart's a little bit better 3-point shooter, I think. But I think that'll be a good fit for him too. Again, to be a guy that if Tibbs goes, hey, we can kind of use you in that Josh Hart role, either at the G League or in practice. That way, if Hart got injured or something, they have a guy that could take on the same role. I think that's where when I look at the NBA teams, the way they construct the rosters now, yes, you want to go out and acquire the best talent possible, but you're also looking at guys that fill a position need and fill a role. Case in example, the Denver Nuggets right now. They lose Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to the Orlando Magic, 3-and-D prospect. He's been a solid guy in the NBA. He's had a couple championships. Not a tremendous scorer, but can shoot 4 or 5 threes a night if need be. A capable rebounder, quality defender. They lose him, but they drafted a guy in Christian Brown 2 years ago that has the characteristics of what Kentavious Caldwell-Pope does. So you're not expecting Christian Brown to come in and score 12 to 15 tonight, but you're hoping that he can fulfill the same role and impact on the court that KCP did. And we can get into that more another time too. But I think that's why the Kevin McCullar fit there looks decent on paper, at least, because he could fulfill some of what the role is that Josh Hart plays. So yeah, excited for both of them. I guess when we look back 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now, which player do you guys think has the better career? I think Furphy has the highest ceiling. Again, younger prospect, more offensively capable. But when we look back in 5, 6, 7 years, which guy do you think is more likely to still be in the league?
I could see McCullar. I could see. I mean, and also the question was like better career. I think. I mean, hey, I hate to say it, but the Villanova Knicks are knocking on the door. Like,
I've already thrown a wager on them to win the finals.
Indiana is, to be fair, knocking on the door as well. However, I just think they're fraudulent. I don't know. I really don't have a backup, and people can have their opinions on that, but I don't have a way to back up that opinion. I just don't see everything coming together. I think they got a little lucky this postseason. So I think New York is closer. They're fun to watch, and it's been amazing to see Jalen Brunson and his rise to superstardom. Just I would say I hope they keep it up. It's so tough now. I want to root for KU players, but I don't want to root for any Villanova Knicks team, dude. Like so frustrating. Anyway, I don't know. McCullar. I think McCullar would be still in the league. If he as long as health permitting, he'll find his role.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think his floor is higher than Furphy's. So yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that Furphy's probably the better prospect in terms of potential standpoint, but I think McCullar, especially if he can get his jump shot, I mean, a little bit better than what it was. I mean, we saw a pretty big improvement this past year, and that was without NBA training staff and NBA development teams. So I think if he can develop that shot into maybe a little quicker, maybe get some of the hitch out of it and still be an elite defender, I mean, he's definitely a guy that could carve out a career.
Derek, what you feeling?
Yeah, just as the way that both rosters are constructed, I would say McCullar, just because again I think the ball handling skills are a little underrated for him. And if when Brunson's off the floor, they relied on Deuce McBride as their lead guard, which I mean, yeah, it's Deuce McBride. So I don't think he handled it valiantly. But the more ball handlers you have, the better chance you have, to keep your offense running. So, I mean, with Furphy, with that team, it might be a couple years before we even see him playing double-digit minutes, just with all the guys they have. So I would say I'm leaning towards McCullar, but I wouldn't be surprised if both, stayed.
I think if I had to pick, I love Furphy's ceiling, but I think for Furphy to stick, he has to get close to that ceiling to be consistently playing. Whereas McCullar, he might have a smaller ceiling, but he's closer to that ceiling already. So he's probably more plug and play in the short term, which if he does get to plug and play in the shorter term and plays well, I think he's going to stick around. Now, I've seen some people talk about him in the Sean Livingston mold, former Warrior, who coming out into his draft class, which was a long time ago now, not much of a scorer, terrible shooter, but 6'7", long, great ball handler, really good defender. But as his time in the NBA progressed, he really fit the mold of the I'm going to go out and play high quality defense on the opposing's best wing, and then be a nice ball distributor. And again, I think you're right, Derek. Kevin's ball handling skills, I think, are a little underrated. We saw him be more of an on-ball or a ball handler this year, even though he's not facilitating the offense per se, but he's more than capable of performing those duties. So I would give the edge to McCullar there, but I think Furphy by far has the better ceiling. So super excited for both of those two. Can't wait to see Summer League play. I think Furphy's probably going to get more run in Summer League than I think McCullar will. So I think it'd be exciting to see what he's capable of early, because I think the Pacers want to really get an idea of this young group of guards they have and wings who can really stand out and have the biggest impact. So super exciting there. Okay. As we go into our last part of the episode here, let's do some more KU basketball trivia. We've done this once now, and it did not go so well. You guys struggled mightily. That's okay. We had some fans in the comment section make sure to remind us that you guys did terrible. So
they really?
No pressure. Yep, there are a few people that it was the Jared Haas one got some people like, how do you not know? I mean, he's got a book after him being Mr. Floorburns.
All right, can I?
But I know, in fairness, both of you have told me your KU basketball knowledge pre-2010, 2009 is not that great.
I don't
get it.
I mean, what are we doing? That's not going to be the saving grace.
Guys,
here.
I lived in.
Oh, he's got a book. Okay.
In 2008, I lived in St. Louis, Missouri, and I didn't know KU existed. Okay,
that's fair.
And I wasn't a sports guy. I knew Mizzou existed, but I didn't know anything about KU.
Sorry to hear that.
Like I know it was a sad life, and then moving to Kansas, best decision of my life ever. Going to KU, best decision of my life ever. But my knowledge really starts in the 2011-2012 year when I first came to KU. But so don't hate on me too much, people, for the lack of knowledge beyond that.
Well, we're going to try, because we have some trivia coming up that some of us will be competing in. So we got to get the dust off. I know Derek will perform better than the two of you. I know that for a fact. So no pressure. So here's what we're going to do. All of these questions are going to be KU Jayhawks in the NBA related, NBA draft specifically. Majority, if not all of these, are going to be during the Bill Self era. So going back to 2004 was the first NBA draft to have a player from Bill Self. So there's one question and one answer. But there are a couple that I will mix in that have nothing to do with Bill Self specifically. So I'll give you guys the option. Do we want to go round robin one at a time, or open-ended questions and first person to answer? Or each person gets first person to answer. If they get it wrong, someone gets to go next.
I say open-ended, and that way you don't get any of us pausing for 2 minutes because we can't think of the answers. So
and hopefully that leads to better short content for us too. So all right, here we go. Let me kick you an easy one first. Okay. There are two former Kansas Jayhawks to be drafted number 1 overall. Who are they?
Andrew and oh
That's
God.
One.
What am I? Hold on. Who's the other one?
There's not a long history of KU players getting drafted super high. There's 2 players that you should automatically think of as all-time greats.
Danny Manning.
Danny Manning, yep. Danny Manning, after they won national championship, went number 1 overall.
Okay.
So only 2 players.
Yikes.
Let's see. let's see. I'm going to ask variations of this question to get all these answers out. In the Bill Self era, so since 2004, it has spanned 20 seasons of drafts. How many first-round draft picks do you think Bill Self has had? If you don't get it correct, then we'll go with whoever gets the closest.
Since what?
And I'll give you since 2004. I'll give you about 30, 45 seconds to think. Go back because there's a lot of guys in that 20-year span that got drafted. So, how many first-round draft picks has Bill Self sent to the NBA?
32.
I'll let all three of you give an answer first before we dive in. The first one would be 2005.
I really want to know if I'm close at all.
In fairness, it took me a while to come up with all these before I went back and looked. I did get all 18 though.
What? You just said. What are you talking
Oh
about?
crap! I just gave you the
You just said 18.
What are you doing?
I was gonna,
Oh, okay. Well, let's rephrase that. Okay.
I was gonna say 20. I was actually gonna
I
say
was gonna
20.
say
I just gave you the dang. I can't believe I did that, especially on the podcast. Okay. Let's go through the
My
18.
1, 2.
Who was
a
the
year.
first round draft pick of the Bill Self era?
Wayne Simeon,
Where did he get drafted to?
Miami Heat.
Miami Heat.
Won the
Okay.
title next
How
year.
do you know this?
He did.
That's
He did.
right.
He was the
Okay.
first. He was the first coach. He was the first player that was coached by Self.
Yes.
Was
Not recruited by Bill Self, but first player drafted. Any guesses on the second individual to be drafted in the first round?
Oh God, was that that was
Rush?
2007?
Oh, Julian Wright.
Julian Wright.
Oh,
Julian
yeah.
Wright is the number 13 in the draft. Okay, so of the 18 players, let's see if collectively, as the three of you, you can come up with all 18. So we've already got Wayne Simeon and Julian Wright. There's 2.
Brandon Rush.
Brandon Rush, 3.
Cole Aldrich.
4.
Darrell Arthur,
5.
Xavier Henry,
Xavier, 6.
Andrew Wiggins.
7,
Joel Embiid.
8.
Christian Brown.
9.
Ojai Baji.
10.
Macklemore,
11.
Macklemore.
Grady Dick.
Grady Dick.
12. T-Rob, 13.
Kelly Oubre.
Kelly Oubre, 14.
Marcus and Markeith.
15,
Yeah.
16. 2
2
left.
Oh, that one guy that I didn't know last time, J.R. Giddens, was he?
No, he doesn't count because he transferred away.
Okay.
2 left.
I feel like we're missing an easy.
One's been more recent. Quite a fantastic career at KU.
Grady, over counting back, Grady Dick, Ochai,
Went
CV.
towards the end of the first round.
Oh, Doak.
Doak
Yeah, Doak,
17.
that's
We
right.
got 1 left. Last one was a top 10 pick.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, did we
T-Rob. Did we say T-Rob?
No,
Yep.
T-Rob, yeah.
Oh, we said
T-Rob.
that.
Did
No,
anyone
we
say
didn't.
Kelly Oubre?
No, it's not T-Rob.
Got Kelly Oubre. 1 more. He's not playing in the league anymore. A lot of off the court issues last couple of years.
Oh, Ben.
No surprise. Not him.
I said
Oh,
that.
what? I was kind of
Very
spacing out there for a
highly
minute.
ranked recruit coming out of high school.
We're not. Okay, we're not counting Quentin Grimes, right?
Correct.
Okay. Shoot.
I can give you the team he got drafted by.
Off the board. Okay.
The Phoenix Suns.
Oh, Josh Jackson.
Josh Jackson.
Fantastic.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah, 20.
Okay.
Wow.
He was
So-
the fourth pick. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of first round draft picks, former Kansas Jayhawks, how many of the 18 former draft picks from the Bill Self era have landed inside the lottery?
Oh God.
Out of the 18, Ochai, Grady, Oubre, right? Because he was 13.
The NBA draft lottery goes to 14, by the way.
So Marcus, Markeith was Markeith in the lottery? Yeah, he was.
Was it 9?
Spencer's answer is 9.
Yeah, I think.
So, yeah, it's at least 9. I think it's at least 9. No, it's got to be 12.
I'm trying to think here.
I think it's 12.
Okay.
Or it's got to be around there.
I can't remember if CB was lottery. I don't think he was.
He wasn't. He
was
wasn't.
not.
He was 21. He was 21.
JB,
I was like 7 or 8 when first so
JB is cutting in and out right now. We'll come back to him in a second. The answer is 13.
13. Okay.
The 13, I guess I'll tell you the 5 that were not the lottery picks. Azubuike, Christian Brown,
Ochai.
Ochai. No, Ochai was lottery pick. Sorry.
It was lottery. Okay.
Cutting me off. Darrell Arthur, Wayne Simeon. I think I said 5 there. Yeah, those 5. Rest of them were lottery picks. Okay. Next question. So there were 18 first-round draft picks of the Bill Self era. How many second-round draft picks have there been? And same thing. After we think how many are, we're going to try and name all of them.
Let's see.
can we skip? Can we pass?
Two that we
This
just
is not
talked
fun
about.
trivia. This is not good content.
So you've got 18 that you know were drafted first round. See if you can come up with the list. Let's do this. Come up with the list of guys that you think were drafted in the second round, and we'll see if you get all of them correct.
Okay.
Kevin McCullar. Kevin McCullar.
McCullar and Furphy.
Sasha
That
Khan.
reminds me, I need to update. Hold on, I need to update my list now because I did not.
Sasha Khan was drafted in the second round.
Yes.
Frank was second round.
Frank Devontae.
Devontae Graham was second round, right?
Yeah, was Speed.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I think that was. Yeah. Withy, he was second.
Yeah.
Wayne
Was
Selden.
it Sean Collins second round? Or was he undrafted?
Ron Collins went undrafted.
Did Selden get drafted or was he high 50s? I can't remember.
He also went undrafted.
Yeah, that's right. Chalmers was second round. I remember that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Tyshawn Taylor, he was second round.
He was.
Josh Selby, was he drafted?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yep, Josh Selby's on that list.
Trying to think who else.
Was it Chuck Gallo second round too?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Cliff Alexander?
Was not drafted.
Mm.
I can't remember the total you guys are at now.
It's at least 9.
Oh, Jalen Wilson.
Yeah, Jalen Wilson. That's right.
And then
My phone's gonna die
I can't think of anything else. I feel like that's it.
I think according to my list, you guys are only missing one, unless you said it and I didn't hear him. Was a part of a very good team.
They're you mean all of them?
No, really good team.
Like they won the title.
He has a national championship on his resume.
I remember this. Darnell Jackson.
Darnell Jackson. Yep.
That's right.
So 13 was the answer on that one. So in total, that is 31 players of the Bill Self era that have been drafted. Of course, we still have a handful of guys that went undrafted that should have been drafted. Still don't understand how Devon Dotson did not get drafted. Wayne Selden not getting drafted. Cliff Alexander, to name some of them. Okay. Name the 5 top 10 draft picks of the Bill Self era.
Dude, all right.
Ben McLemore, T. Rob,
Andrew Wiggins, Joel Embiid.
Wiggins, yeah, and then to go top 5. Oh man.
Oh, Josh Jackson.
Josh Jackson.
Yeah, I always think about that.
Okay, and then this one's a little bit harder. Name 5 former Jayhawks in the last 10 years to log at least one NBA game appearance without being drafted.
Being drafted, okay.
I don't know for sure if there's more than 5, but these are the 5 I could find.
Selden played a little bit. I know that.
I'm sorry. When I said 5, I meant 4.
Yeah, Wayne Selden was one. Devon Dotson played for the Bulls. Who went undrafted. Marcus Garrett played for the Heat? No?
No,
Yep, okay. We'll go 5 because I forgot to include him.
Okay.
Well, did he play a regular season game though?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, he has logged minutes.
Yeah, very, very small amount of minutes. Trying to undrafted who played. Oh, Tariq Black, was he drafted? Are we counting him?
Tart.
Okay. Yep.
That's
That would be
fine.
one that keeps increasing my list now. But yeah,
Okay.
that works.
Cliff
Cool.
Alexander played a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, check.
What's the list?
Check Diallo was drafted.
There's one more guy that I'm thinking of that more recent.
More recent. Let me think here. Did Dedrick Lawson play at all for the Spurs?
Landon Lucas.
Nope. He played on a couple summer league.
He did.
He's a poker player now.
I wish he would have done Celtics.
Did Malik play at all, or is he
Malik
just
Newman. Yep, Malik Newman.
Malik Newman?
He
Okay.
I was
logged
going
a
to say
few.
that.
I think he logged a couple games for the Cavaliers.
Cavs.
good
So yeah,
player.
that ended up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was 6, which totally is fine. Okay, let's see. Do I have anything left? Ooh, here's a really hard one, and I don't think
no.
anybody's gonna get this one because you have to go way, way, way back.
Oh, Yee's little faith.
Who was the first Jayhawk to be drafted into the NBA?
Oh my God.
Wilt.
That's a really good guess. That would be most people's guess.
What?
Couple-
Yeah.
What decade was
The
this?
1940s, 1948
Wow.
to be exact.
I
Number
never
72
played
in
basketball
the
then.
7th round, number 72. He is up in the rafters. His
Yeah.
jersey is retired.
I'm going to bow out of this one, guys. I'll let you take a stab at it.
Dual sport athlete at Kansas.
Is it Charles Black?
I don't know.
Very good at both sports, of course, back
I'm
in the
just-
day.
I'm just hoping my phone doesn't die before the end of this recording.
Dual sport athlete, as if I know the KU football team.
Yeah.
40s.
Well, there's only about 4 or 5 guys in KU sports history that were both letter winners in basketball and football.
James Sosinski.
Otto Schnellbacher.
Who?
Otto Schnellbacher.
Oh,
all the way
this-
back to
I got
1948.
I got a Schnellbacher jersey in my closet. That's right.
Nice. Yeah, got all the way back to 1948. Also was a tight end for Kansas. Other guesses, good guesses would have been Clyde Lovellette because he was back during that time. But yeah, Wilt Chamberlain in the 50s, Clyde Lovellette in the 50s. That is all my NBA draft KU related ones, I believe. Yeah, that is. Oh, okay. Here, last one. How many freshmen have been drafted out of Kansas?
Oh God.
Or name all of the freshmen that have been drafted since
All
Bill
time.
Self.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bill
Wiggins.
Self.
Since Bill, yeah.
Wiggins,
Yeah.
yeah. Josh Jackson,
All right.
Kelly-
Kelly.
Kelly Oubre, Xavier Henry.
Oubre. He was just a
You
freshman.
already got that. Yep.
Oh,
Said
okay.
that.
Wait, who do we have so far? Embiid, Wiggins,
Macklemore.
Macklemore. That's 6.
You said
Right.
Kelly
Redshirt
Oubre.
freshman.
You said Xavier Henry.
Right. So that's
You say
Macklemore.
first round as a freshman?
No, just total freshmen have been drafted.
Well, Furphy. If we're doing,
Murphy.
Yeah.
I can't think of
Yeah.
another.
Two more.
Oh God.
Freshman, right? So what wasn't
Are we counting Quentin Grimes?
was Check Diallo a freshman?
He
He did
was.
draft?
Yep, he was a freshman. Drafted the second round. One more. You've said his name earlier, of course.
Right.
He had his debut at Kansas came a couple games into the season against USC and shot lights out from 3 in that game. Scored 21 points in his debut.
He's
Played for the Lakers.
Henry? Xavier?
No, Xavier Henry did play for the Lakers, but
Yeah.
this other one also played a little bit for the Lakers, mostly a G League.
But he played for the
He
Lakers.
he was at the time KU's highest rated freshman recruit of all time.
Oh, Josh Selby?
Josh Selby. He was the number 1 overall player in that class and was rated higher than Xavier Henry the year before or 2 years before. But yeah, that is all my questions. You guys
Okay.
did okay.
Better, except for the
Could have had 0.
Hamburger.
players.
Yeah, we'll keep doing more of these. I've got categories for Jayhawks and NBA. That'll be another fun one. Categories for NCAA tournament, KU random facts, jerseys, coaching staffs, all that kind of stuff. So we'll get into more of those throughout the summer as we prep for our trivia appearance. But yeah, thanks you guys for joining us on this one. Anybody else got any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Shout out to Keegan, who's now a dad. So
That I am.
Yeah,
About
you
time
guys-
to go see the little one now anyway.
that's about right.
Very nice.
But yeah, we'll wrap up there. Best of luck to Kevin McCullar and Johnny Furphy over the summer. Can't wait to see how they perform in Summer League. Thank you, those who've been supporting us so far. Again, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at KCSA Pod. You can also subscribe right here on YouTube and help get us over 700 subscribers. It'd be fantastic. Stay tuned for all the upcoming stuff. We've got more KU basketball stuff over the summer. We've got a lot of NBA stuff that'll be coming up this week with NBA offseason going into effect. Continue to talk more Royals. If you guys have any questions or things you'd like for us to talk about on the podcast, you can hit us up on any of our social medias. You can add questions and comments below. And we'll do some more KU basketball trivia throughout the summer as well. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you guys again for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Rock shot.